That night, after buying the new phone, everything changed. At first, I thought it was just a regular purchase, nothing out of the ordinary. I plugged it in, let it charge to 100%, and went to bed. But when the lights were off and I was about to fall asleep, curiosity got the best of me. I decided to fiddle with it. I turned the phone on, squinting at the bright screen in the dark. Then, just as the phone booted up, it started ringing. The sudden noise jolted me awake, my heart racing. I stared at the screen in confusion. The number was a jumble, nothing I recognized. It flashed, 66358. I had never seen anything like it. With the phone still vibrating in my hand, I slowly raised it to my ear. "Hello?" I whispered, unsure of what I was about to hear. At first, there was nothing but a harsh, overwhelming static noise, like a swarm of angry bees buzzing in my ear. Then, a voice emerged, deep and robotic. As I pressed the phone tighter to my ear, I realized the voice was repeating the same words over and over. "There is death on the surface. There is death on the surface." The eerie message came at me like an endless loop. But every third loop, something changed. There was a strange ping in the background, like the sound of radar, but it was followed by someone yelling in the distance. Angry. Frantic. I was frozen, utterly baffled. Slowly, I lowered the phone and ended the call. What the hell was that? Just then, the screen lit up again. It startled me. A text. The same strange number. Hesitant, I opened it. It was a picture, a grainy, nighttime photo. The screen was dark, but in the distance, 3 blurry orbs of light hovered, spaced apart, unnatural, almost otherworldly. Below the image, there was a warning, "Beware the blue lights." I shuddered and put the phone on my bed. I couldn't shake the unsettling feeling crawling up my spine. Was this some kind of joke? Maybe I should just return the phone in the morning, maybe ask for a new number. But then, the phone rang again. I grabbed it, blinking at the bright screen. Same number. My voice trembled as I answered, "Hello?" Again, that low, mechanical voice, "There is death on the surface. There is death on the surface." But before I could hang up, something changed. The voice stopped. There was silence, then, a heavy breathing sound, ragged and close. I froze, the air in my lungs stuck. "Is someone there?" I whispered, fear clawing at my throat. The breathing stopped abruptly, then came a soft gasp, a sharp pull of air, before a voice, thin and distant, spoke. "You can hear me?" It asked, its tone almost pleading. I felt my skin go cold. "Who the hell is this?" I demanded, my voice shaking. My heart was still racing when the call disconnected, leaving nothing but a wave of white noise in its wake. I sat there, frozen, trying to process everything. What was happening? My phone chirped again, a new message notification. Hesitant, I wiped my sweaty palms and looked at the screen. The number was different this time, but still that strange jumble of digits. 66,358 Reza. I opened the text, my breath catching in my throat. The picture that loaded made my stomach drop. It was an image of my apartment building, taken from outside, in the dark. And beneath it, in all caps, a single word, "Stop." Panic surged through me. I jumped from my bed and ran to the window, peering into the night. Was someone out there? Was someone watching me? I could feel sweat trickling down my spine, my entire body tense. My phone rang again. I glanced at the display. Same number. The same number that had been haunting me all night. Should I ignore it? Who was so desperately trying to reach me? I shot a quick glance at the window before I answered, my voice trembling as I spoke. "Who is this? Are you watching me?" A crackle of static filled my ear. Then came that same thin, distant voice. "Get me out of here." The man's breaths were ragged, strained. He sounded like he was in pain, each word punctuated by deep, labored inhalations. In the background, there was a clanging noise, then the familiar pinging sound, 3 or 4 times. "Oh, please, you have to help me." His voice was growing frantic, distorted, like it was being filtered through some kind of machine. I could hear steam hissing through the static, the pinging returning again. "Where are you? What's going on?" I asked, trying to stay calm, but my voice shook. The voice was so faint now, so far away that I had to close my eyes to concentrate. "I'm by the light." He was cut off, and then came the dreaded message again. "There is death on the surface." I slammed the phone down, the words still echoing in my mind. Sweat dripped down my face as I stood in the dark, my body trembling. I knew what was coming next. Another text. I didn't want to open it, but morbid curiosity gnawed at me. Slowly, I tapped the screen. Another picture. I brought the phone closer to my face, squinting at the blurry image. As I focused, my blood ran cold. It was a picture of me. Taken just seconds ago. I was standing in the middle of my bedroom, the darkness surrounding me. And the worst part? It looked like it had been taken from my closet. I couldn't breathe. My eyes darted to the closet door, barely cracked open, and my blood turned to ice. I felt it. Something was watching me. Frozen in fear, my mind screamed for me to run, but I couldn't move. Then, out of nowhere, a flash of blue light erupted from the crack in the closet door. I sank to my knees, gasping for air as the weight of whatever was holding me in place lifted, leaving the room in a sudden rush. I scrambled to my feet, stumbling toward the light switch. As the room lit up, I grabbed my phone and powered it on. My hands shook as I grabbed my car keys, not caring about anything else. I needed to get out. I had to get out. I bolted from the apartment, racing for my car. Without a second thought, I drove to the nearest hotel, my mind in a blur. I checked in, locked myself in the room, and collapsed on the bed, trying to catch my breath. But I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't safe, not yet. I sat on the side of the hotel bed, staring at the phone across the room, now resting on the small coffee table. It was off. I hadn't dared to turn it back on after what happened last night. But I kept thinking I saw flashes of blue light in the sky, my mind questioning if it was paranoia or something else. I didn't want to know what had been in my room, what I had seen, what had been following me. All I knew was I had to keep the phone off. It was safer that way. But then, it rang. I froze, staring at it in disbelief. How could it be ringing? I had turned it off. My heart raced, my breath shallow, panicked. I didn't want to answer it. Something inside me screamed that I had uncovered something that wasn't meant to be found. Some kind of dark secret that was somehow escaping, and now it was hunting me down. The ringing stopped after what felt like an eternity. I waited, the silence stretching on unbearably. Then came the chirp, the notification of a new message. My hands were trembling as I picked up the phone. The number still read Reza. I took a deep breath, my stomach sinking. Hesitantly, I played the voice message. It was garbled, like someone was yelling underwater. The words came in short, distorted bursts, followed by the screeching static. It went on for a few seconds, and then I heard a sharp clack, like a receiver being put down. Then, a broken voice began speaking, in jumbled, frantic English. "Watch, watch, watch." A burst of static cut him off, and then the voice returned, "No, no." I couldn't take it anymore. I pulled the phone from my ear, my hands shaking uncontrollably. What was happening? What was all of this? I walked to the window, the weight of dread sinking deep in my chest. I grabbed the curtains and pulled them open, my eyes scanning the sky. It was dark, but I didn't see any blue lights, at first. Then I saw them. 3 blue orbs, the size of baseballs, drifting across the sky in a slow, erratic zigzag pattern. They were distant, but there was no mistaking it. I knew what I had seen. I gasped as I watched them drop from the sky, plummeting like bullets, streaking through the air, leaving a trail of cobalt light behind them. They vanished over the horizon, leaving me breathless, my pulse pounding in my ears. I slammed the curtain shut, and my phone buzzed in my hand. A text from Reza. I opened it, my breath catching in my throat. In the darkness of the room, the words on the screen were like a punch to the gut, "See ya." I felt a chill ripple through my body. I sank to the floor, my back pressed against the wall, eyes wide, heart racing. A wave of panic hit me, my breath coming in shallow gasps. I felt exposed, trapped, like the walls were closing in on me. The claustrophobia was unbearable. What was I supposed to do? How could I stop this? The phone rang again, its shrill tone breaking through my thoughts. I answered it without thinking, my voice desperate. Why are the lights following me? What are they? Static filled the line, a low, haunting sound, before the voice returned, thin and distant. They found you, haven't they? Shit. It's my fault. I'm sorry. I pressed the phone tightly against my ear, my voice hoarse and trembling. Who are they? There was a hiss on the other end, and then that same pinging sound returned, reverberating in my ear. The man spoke again, his voice strained and distant. They're called the Deep Lights, and Coffin. I was about to ask more when I heard him gasp for air. You have to get me out of here. Please. The line filled with static, the sound overwhelming everything around me. I pulled the phone away from my ear, the man's words echoing in my head. Where are you? I asked, my voice a whisper, my heart racing. The man's voice, distant and desperate, crackled through the line, fading in and out as the static grew worse. Then, I heard it, a strange, rhythmic banging. Followed by another unsettling ping. What the hell? I muttered, the realization dawning on me. You're calling me from the moon? My voice trembled, barely a whisper. The line distorted, the man's voice growing increasingly faint, as if he were speaking from the far end of a long hallway. No, it's not the moon. What I'm seeing, it's not Earth. His voice was frantic, pleading. Suddenly, the line was overwhelmed by a screeching feedback blast. I yanked the phone away from my ear, my heart pounding in my chest. The call died, leaving me in deafening silence. I stared at the phone, my breath shallow and quick. Nothing made sense. Nothing was adding up. And then, an explosion of light. A blinding, radiant blue light flooded the room, slipping through the gap in the curtains. My eyes bulged as my stomach dropped, as if the light itself were slapping me across the face. The air rumbled, shaking the very foundations of the room. The shadows on the floor shifted, stretched by the intensity of the light. They were here. They were right outside my room. My breath caught in my throat as I slid against the wall, my heart thundering in my chest. My hand shook violently as I reached out for the windowsill, bracing myself for what I might see. The light continued to move along the window, as though it were slowly passing by. The rumble persisted, so deep I thought it was coming from inside my own body. I couldn't look away. Tentatively, I peered out the window. There, just outside, hovered a blue orb the size of a basketball, drifting silently in the night air. In the distance, I could see two more, hanging like eerie sentinels. Panic surged through me, and I collapsed to the floor, clutching my chest. A silent prayer spilled from my lips, my eyes squeezed shut in terror. The shadows on the floor fluttered like black butterflies, casting fleeting, twisted shapes in the room. When I dared open my eyes again, I saw the light begin to fade. It was moving away, leaving the room still and silent. I exhaled shakily, relief flooding my chest, but the fear still clung to me. The lights were gone, for now. But then my phone beeped in my hand, and I nearly screamed. The screen displayed a message from Reza. With trembling fingers, I opened the text. It was short, cryptic, Ada. Where did we go? I read it again, trying to make sense of it. What was happening? Why was this happening to me? I shook my head, feeling a wave of dizziness wash over me. These things, these deep lights, were messing with me, but why? What did they want? I quickly grabbed my car keys from the nightstand, a sense of urgency crashing over me. If they knew I was here, then it wasn't safe anymore. I had to leave. I had to get away. Taking one last look out the window, I slipped out of the room and rushed down to the parking lot. My footsteps echoed in the still night, the hairs on the back of my neck standing on end. I kept expecting something to reach out from the darkness, but I managed to make it to my car without incident. I gunned the engine and sped off down the road, my eyes darting nervously to the sky. I didn't know what was chasing me, but I couldn't stay here. I had to escape before the lights found me again. I had no idea where I was heading, but I found myself on a long stretch of country road, leading to the next town about 20 miles away. If I could just make it there, maybe I'd be safe. The thought didn't make much sense, but it felt like the only plan I had, and somehow, that comforted me. The dark countryside blurred past my windows, the headlights cutting through the night as I pushed the car faster. One eye on the road, the other on the rearview mirror. It was late, so I didn't expect to see anyone else out here. In fact, I found myself wishing for traffic, anything to break the isolation, to make me feel less exposed. Suddenly, my phone rang, and I snatched it up from the passenger seat where I had tossed it. The screen flashed, from Moon. Without hesitation, I answered. "Are you there?" "I'm here," the male voice responded, clear and without static this time. "I think I figured out how to talk to you without the interference, but it won't last long. So we need to be quick." I gripped the steering wheel tighter. "What are they?" "The deep lights?" The voice came back, low and grave. "We don't know. We've been trying to contain one of them for years, but we've failed every time." I shot a glance at the rearview mirror, my stomach tightening. A crumpled-up piece of static buzzed in the air before the voice continued. "I worked for NASA," he said, his voice distant and weary. "Well, I guess I still do. I was with the third team, the Sentinel team. We were investigating these strange lights. Our satellites first made contact with them 3 years ago, hovering near the surface of our moon. Our mission was to try and capture and contain the deep lights. From the data the first 2 teams obtained, we learned that these things are capable of an absurd amount of energy. One of them could power the entire United States for a decade before dying out. That should give you some idea of what we're dealing with here." I felt my blood drain from my face. Jesus Christ. What happened to the other 2 teams? There was a brief silence, followed by a crackling sound. Then he spoke again, his tone grim. "They couldn't control the lights. They're strange, almost childish in their behavior. But they're intelligent. They can communicate through our technology, and that's how we first discovered them. Someone at NASA stumbled across a transmission from the moon, filtered through one of our satellites. They were singing the national anthem." "What the hell?" I whispered as the road whizzed beneath me. The man on the other end coughed roughly, his breath labored. "There's more you need to know. The deep lights have a temper. And when they start to glow bright, rat-a-tat, that's when you know what's coming." "What's coming?" I asked, my stomach turning. The man's voice dropped, heavy with gravity. "Explosion." I could feel the weight of his words sink into my chest. "The deep lights are like nukes," he continued, his voice faint. "The first 2 teams, they were wiped out. Trying to contain these things pissed them off, I guess. Imagine that. But the government wasn't about to let such an amazing discovery slip through their hands. They told us, before sending us out there, practically pushing us into the shadows. Imagine what we could do." His words trailed off as if the meaning was too terrifying to voice directly. I could feel my body tense, my pulse racing as everything around me seemed to spiral. What the hell were these things, and why were they following me? Why was I being pulled into this nightmare? I gripped the wheel harder, trying to push the thoughts out of my head. But they lingered, suffocating. I shifted the phone to my other ear, my fingers trembling as I tried to stay focused. "What happened to your team?" I asked, my voice steady despite the panic rising within me. "We managed to land on the moon," the man's voice came through, strained and distant. We got close to the spot where we lost contact, about 6 months ago. But they were waiting for us. Goddamn, they've gotten smarter, we didn't stand a chance. A chill ran down my spine. They came out of the ground, from the dust, his voice faltered, pain lingering in his words. I had 2 other team members with me. I ran, they didn't get the chance. I struggled to process what he was saying. The deep lights, I murmured, trying to understand. Yeah, he replied, his voice trembling. I could hear the distress in his tone, a desperation clinging to each word. I kept my eyes glued to the road, mind reeling from the horror of it all. Suddenly, I heard it, static. A creeping noise that signaled the line was dying. The sound grew louder, the voice growing faint as if it was being swallowed by the abyss. Where are you? I asked urgently, gripping the steering wheel tighter. I don't know, they took me somewhere. I don't know why, they didn't tell me like the others, and as I ran, they overtook me, his words cracked and sputtered. They swallowed me in their light, and sent me somewhere else. I glanced nervously at the road as the night continued to press in around me. What do you mean? Where are you? I'm in a room, the man's voice was almost a whisper now. Surrounded by machines, you can't even imagine them. Words haven't been discovered to describe what this room looks like. I think I'm on some kind of moon. There's a window. I can see stars and a massive gray mountain to my left, and there's a planet, its surface, it's like a mirror, like liquid chrome. I swallowed, feeling my heart race as the surreal images filled my mind. Where are you? What's happening? I think we're orbiting Adso, he continued, a low cough interrupting him. A hiss of steam followed, filling the silence for a moment. You have to get me out of here. There's a door that's keeping me trapped in this room. It's locked from the outside. I can hear those damn deep lights outside the door. Sometimes they talk to me through the machines in here. I'm going insane. You have to get me out of here. I felt my throat tighten, the weight of his words suffocating. What the hell am I supposed to do? How can I help you? My voice cracked as the question slipped out. There was a long pause, broken only by more static and his labored breathing. Let them catch you. Let them absorb you, his voice turned hollow. It's only a matter of time. They're just playing with you anyway. Please. I can't stand being alone any longer. It's driving me mad. The line went dead. A final burst of static, then nothing. I slowly lowered the phone and placed it on the passenger seat. My heart hammered in my chest, the panic tightening its grip. My mind was a mess of confusion and disbelief. What had I just heard? What could any of this possibly mean? I shook my head, trying to make sense of the words, the fear, the deep lights. What the hell could have made them part of this, part of whatever nightmare I was trapped in?